if you're working in a software team and many people are there working together with you, if you if they don't write test cases, so test cases basically ensure the correctness of your code. And if there's no central system, some kind of CICD system is not there, then there's people has to run those tests in their laptop. Sometimes it's breaking, sometimes it's not. So there's no central place to know, okay, whether what tests are passing, what is the history of the test. And more importantly, it will give the developer the feedback loop, instant feedback loop, whether his tests are passing or he has broken some other tests as well. And another part of any CI system is the release and deployment phase as well. uh, you can basically deliver your software through some pipeline to your target servers as well. So that's the basic premises of any CI system. RazorOps is no different. Here also you can basically model your uh, common CI/CD tasks in such a way that those tasks can be completed in a shortest amount of time, so that the developers get lesser good feedback loop, shorten lifespan of builds, and overall you will get a good team velocity, and you can deliver the happiness to your developers and other folks. Before getting started, just want to give a basic terminology. Most of you might be knowing this, but in the context of any say platform, you will see a word called pipeline. So the pipeline is nothing but an app created in the CI system from your Git repository. A pipeline is generally connected to your Git provider or a Git repository, and any code chain that you will make, the notification will be coming to the pipeline, and it will keep triggering the things that you want to do. Then next comes the workflow run or a build. So if a pipeline is connected to a particular code, Git repository, if you make a change, if you push a commit or if you push a branch, code change trigger will be done to your CI/CD system, and it will trigger a new instance of job file that we call a new build or workflow run. These are self-explanatory. Git providers say, and CA spec has a, I think, special meaning here. CA spec, every platform, whether it is Azure, RazorOps, or then Jenkins, they support a configuration pipeline as a configuration concept, where uh, you can put the definition of your task. You can model your pipeline into various tasks, and you define as a code, and you put that file into your code base. So what CI/CD system do is they fetch that particular file, and then they create the your test, uh, the will environment, and they run your test cases. So if you choose any CI/CD system, it's a very common or standard practice that they should support pipeline as a code, and you can control all of the features and all of the things through that YAML or any Jenkins file or any in the programming language. Then Git triggers common code changes that we do, like push and pull request. You can do manual triggers as well in a CI/CD system. So when Git triggers happen, then CI basically creates a new build for you. Okay. So we have this thing about coming to next thing. Depending on your application, you might have different tasks, and you have to ultimately model your those tasks in such a way that that can be finished in a shortest amount of time. So you can basically logically divide your tasks into various isolated tasks. So let's say if you want to run the test cases, you can make its test cases like unit test is one particular step that will do. And then you can say, okay, the last task should be finished by oh,
Yeah, now we are able to hear you. Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I think I lost power and then it came back. Anyway, I think I was talking about the common how to model your CICD task, right? In any provider. So this is one example of three tasks, and the requirement is two of the tasks should go in parallel, and one task, the last task should be executed when both of these are finished. So let's say if you have these three, uh, you have to anyway logically divide your things, your jobs into different tasks, and then you have to establish a relationship between those tasks, and then you define those dependencies as a code. So let's say if we have these three tasks, I can show you the how to define it as a code in our RazorOps platform. So every task actually comes under a key called task. So this is the unit task, and then this is the compile task, and this is the deploy task. The specialty of the deploy task is it depends on these two tasks. So you made and you have to write explicitly that this task depends on compile as well as unit test. By default, if you don't provide depends, it will start in parallel. So for example, compile doesn't have any dependency, it will start in parallel. Unit test also doesn't have any dependency, it will start in parallel. Um, and then you can define what should be run as a part of that particular step in other in the steps key. So coming back to this one,
Dinesh, I'll take you some 2 minutes. Basically, before going too deep into pipeline, can you just show that dashboard, like how people can create a pipeline, and then what kind of Razor XML file they have to put, so that they can execute their pipeline.
mhm.
Yeah, that will be, I think,
So
better, because most of
right,
people
right.
are, I feel, here new, so they should know a little bit about product, and then they should know a little bit about concepts, like how RazorOps work, or what kind of things you can
Okay.
achieve using RazorOps, or what are the CI/CD system, which you already, I think, covered. So that is fine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So after the login, you will land into a dashboard, and that dashboard will be the first page of that dashboard will be the pipeline page. If you want to, I have already created some pipeline here. If you want to create more pipeline, you can click on new pipeline, and based on which provider you have logged in, I have logged in using GitLab. So it will list down all of the repositories uh, that are there in your Git provider. So you can see this. You can search as well, and you can choose the repository that you want to choose, and you can create a pipeline for it. After you create a pipeline, you have to put the RazorOps.yaml. In any CI/CD platform which supports pipeline as a code, you have to put that the spec into your code base, and whenever a git triggers comes, it creates a new build for you, and then it works like that.
Sorry to interrupt, Dinesh. So, is there any provision to not, like not see some repositories or some branches in this, or
Mm,
so all the branches of and all the repositories will sync into this?
branches doesn't matter. It's just the all in the left side you can see all of the organizations in a particular account,
Okay.
and then the right side it will show all of the repositories.
Okay. So the okay.
So if you are asking not all Git providers are there, you mean
No, no. I'm asking. So, for example, we have Bitbucket. So if we give
okay?
access to Bitbucket, there are let us assume we have 50 repositories, or 50 branches or in a repository in such a way. So if
Mm.
we sync that, right, you'll get all the 50. That's what you said. It will get all the.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
can
yeah.
is there a provision to not see some access control? Is there some, for example, only two of the admins can see my master
Those
branch of.
those those controls should be given as a part of your Git provider. So when you connect your account to Dataros or anywhere that you want to restrict to, you need to create a user and give a specific access to that particular
Okay.
repo only, so that if I am connected with that account only, it will show only those two repositories,
Awesome.
because
Okay. Yeah. Understood.
that that particular user don't have access to others.
Okay. Understood. Thanks.
So that should be part of your Git provider, not from
Okay.
us, because we will access whatever we can access.
Hmm.
So if it is a Bitbucket, Bitbucket icon will come, and similar process will
Yes.
also
Yes.
come there. In the left side, you will see projects. In the right side, the repositories. Then you can create the new pipeline. Once you create a pipeline, it will look something like this,
Hmm.
and you have to put the .razorOps.yaml in your code base. And if you make any code changes after that, it will trigger new builds
Okay.
for you. So let's say if I want to go and see how many, how does the build workflow things runs.
Hmm.
So these are some of the builds that we have already have. Um, so each commit basically creates a new build ID for you.
Okay.
It will keep on creating. And this is some of the information regarding the commits that create the build. It has 3 steps. You Some of the steps might be conditional. Like say if I push to release prod, execute 3 steps. If I push to master, only execute 1 step.
Okay.
So this conditional step you can define. All of this thing can be defined in your Razor YAML file or any CI spec file, and your CI provider basically will run those things and will show you uh, the logs as well. You can go and click on each of these tasks and see the logs. If it is failed log, it will say failed. If any of the tasks in the pipeline failed, the overall status will be failed. Uh, Maybe I don't have failance. Yeah, let's say this has been failed, so it will show what has been failed. You can go and check out the failures in the logs. Yeah. So this thing pretty common to any platform, whether it is Jenkins or whether it is RazorOps. You define your you, you define your tasks uh, in a in a direct acyclic graph. We call it DAG, where the nodes are the task name, and then you define the relationship between them uh, to make it faster. So coming to your next, how do you structure your CA task? The aim is to basically define such a way or model in such a way that the whole pipeline runs in a quickest manner possible, and it takes the least amount of your time, so that if it fails, then your developer will get notified and they can fix it again. Sometimes if we are releasing important fix to your servers, sometimes we have this build time really matters. If build time is more than 15 minutes, a small change will need at least 15 minutes to get it out. If it is, let's say, under 5 minutes, and if we are iterating on a things, then even if those 10 minutes of reduced time will matter. And then you can basically divide your tasks, define relationship between them. You will get a DAG structure. Um, in any CI task, you should fail faster. Let's say if you have a very big integration test, you should choose to fail faster if any of the tests fails, and if you are running parallelly, then fail faster rather than waiting for the overall stats. And once you've done that, you have a optimized spec for a CI platform. Coming to next topic, I will cover uh, common things that we do as a part of any CI platform, uh, or any organization that they do. So one of the things is, let's say you guys already be using some kind of like programming language or some kind of framework. Those framework generally will have external dependencies in terms of libraries or modules. Those libraries and module has to be pulled from the from the internal from the internet, and it sometimes takes time. So if your application is little big enough, it might take 3-4 minutes to download all of the libraries and dependencies. So one of the common best case is to cache those dependencies so that on the subsequent runs it doesn't download all of those dependencies from the internet, but it can find those things already there and download from some common storage, and it will ultimately makes your pipeline a bit faster. Not a bit, it can make faster. If you are in a large pipeline or large dependencies, can make a significant difference. So this is one example. In RazorOps, we there's a special key for it. We call it cache pull and cache push. So on the first run, you can define the key for the cache. Let's say this is the one of the example of Ruby pipeline. In Ruby pipeline, we use bundler. Bundler is a tool to define the dependencies. Similarly, in the Java application, you will have other tools like Gradle, Maven, all those things. So you can define the key, and you can also define a file, and from that file we can generate a checksum, so that if your dependencies has been cached, the key will invalidate and it will force you to download the newer dependencies from the internet. So a cache pool should have a key, and you can provide similarly a cache push has a key, and in the cache push you will have additional field called vendor in the paths. In the paths, you can provide all of the files and directories that you want to cache. On the next run, this particular step, the cache pull step, will try to restore the cache or download the cached file from a storage, a central storage. As a part of Razor platform, we also provide our caching storage. So it will download, it will query whether this particular key with the checksum is present or not. If it is present, it will just download and basically download from the internet. So caching dependency is one common thing that you guys should do. We really encourage anyone who is using Razor or any other platform, they should have a way to cache things. And we generally, you doesn't depend on whether you are caching the only language or libraries. You can also cache other components as well. The files which are frequently accessed within the pipeline. And all those things can be defined as a part of spec. And on the right side, there's example spec I have given for RazorOps. And coming to the next step, Artifactory storage. So on the difference between Artifactory storage and caching storage is, in Artifactory storage, you can store a particular file or directory even after the pipeline has been finished or the build has been finished. It will allow you to basically download the artifacts which are built during the pipeline, and you can use in your script while deploying, or you can also publish anywhere that you want. So as a part of pipeline, you can define a special key called artifacts push. I have defined here artifacts slash push on the right side. You can provide a name and then you can provide the paths, the paths that it will store. And you can use simple curl command to download those artifacts later, or in a different pipeline also. Sometimes people have a dependent pipeline. The artifact created from the first pipeline can be used in the second pipeline. So that thing you can also achieve if you have a dependent pipeline flow. Then next common thing in a shape is when you execute your integration test or unit test, those tests generally provide some kind of reports to you. Uh, it can be coverage reports, it can be some kind of code analysis report, or it can be a JUnit or any other reports. Those reports gives us a way to visualize test failures or the metadata around the test, or how much of my code has been covered by test cases or not. So you can use in every programming language there are tools or libraries from which you can generate those reports, whether it is in various formats, in XML format or HTML format. And this is one of the example where it's a Ruby based application, and RSpec is the tool in a Ruby to execute the test cases. And in the output, I'm outputting the test results into a JUnit file, and it will also generate the coverage report for my unit test case. So once you have any coverage reports or JUnit report, you can tell RazorOps platform the path of those reports, and we will fetch those reports and show you in the dashboard in some nice way. And you can, just by visualizing that those tabs those things in dashboard, you can see those test failures and the history of the test. One example I will show you right now. In this particular pipeline, if I go to reports, it will show me this is the coverage reports. You can see how much of my code is being covered, how much is not covered. So you can see the red ones are not covered, the green ones are covered in as a part of unit test. And then you can go to the insights. On the insights, we show you which test is taking most amount of time. Like if you want to, you might want to optimize the some of the test cases. Those are taking more time to get the shortened build time. And then some graphs saying how many has been passed, how many has had failed over time, things like that. So in any CI provider, I guess you should have a feature to report your test coverage reports or any other kind of format, so that you can visualize it better and make some decision based on it. And next common thing in any CI task can be, if you have an integration test, those integration tests might need some kind of database or caching or any other services, backing services running alongside, so that uh, it make use of that and run your simulations. So in RazorOps, we have explicit support for running those kind of backing services, and you can define as a part of spec as well. So on the right side, you can see this particular pipeline also defines a database service, a Postgres service, and Redis as well. And those services can be discoverable can be connected from your test suite using some kind of address, network address, let's localhost and the port. And then your test case is being run. After the whole pipeline has been finished, those backing services will be deleted. So every basically build, you will get those backing services running alongside your test suite, and you don't have to put any extra code to create or destroy the services in your build. This is one nice feature which really help us to test against different versions of the database, against different version of some system libraries that you have. Then before going to build environment, this is very specific to the RazorOps platform, but some of the key things that we offer and some of the key features which other platforms should offer, or like caching dependencies, coverage reports, those are pretty common to any platform that we want to talk about, and those things makes life little easier, also gives you faster pipelines. Before going to the build environment, if you guys have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask. I will check if do we have any question. Okay, not yet. Cool. So let's go to the build environment. Any CI platform has some concept of the environment. So whenever you do a code change, your task has to be in some kind of environment so that they are isolated from each other. If let's say in a first run, if you are using some system dependencies which is different from some other system dependencies, then you will have conflict and your pipeline will fail. So it is very important for any CI platform to give you an isolated environment for your task to run in. There is no different. We basically every pipeline build runs in a different and isolated environment, and that's why you will get the most resiliency and most predictability in your builds. And after all of your things are being run, that environment is being deleted. And we also provide a way to select those build environments as a part of spec file as well. Similarly, other CI platform also give you the same thing depending on whether they provide isolated environment or not. So as a part of RazorOps, we provide two environments for you. One is the Linux VM, another is Docker VM. Docker VM is a little easier to understand. I will give you an example here. So this is one example on the left side. You can give any Docker container image that you have, and you will run. Then you define the steps as a part of YAML spec, and those steps or any bash script will be running inside in the container that is being created by that particular image. This is a way and any organization can customize or pin down the dependencies that they want to have. If they want to control everything and pin down the system libraries or any versions that they want to use, then this is a great way to do it. So Docker VM is a flexible environment. We also provide Docker VM for most popular programming languages. It can be extended by organization as well. The only downside with the Linux VM is it's little slower because there um, some overhead of Docker containers there. The another thing is Linux VM. It has most of the tools, common tools like AWS or Heroku, and it have different versions of any programming language as well. It is managed by us. It is little faster than Docker VM. Um, this is one example how you choose your build environment. You can define the name of the build environment as a runner key here. This can be as a part of your step, or this can be part of global as well. Then coming to the language runtimes, we have supported all of the programming languages, popular ones, and we have provided container links to them. Here you can see what are the versions of a programming language that we support. For Ruby, we support these 3 or 4, Python 4, 5. Similarly, for Java, other versions we support, Rust and Node.js and things like that. And all of these versions are maintained by us. We publish it as a part of Docker registry here. And these we continuously update bi-weekly um, for have the latest versions as well as latest fixes from the upstream. And these images are optimized for the CI environment. You can also give your container images as well, and it will work out just like uh, our container images are working. I think that's all I have from my side. Now I think I will open this session for the questions or your particular use case that you have been looking for. You can answer. Cham, if you want to try, you can, or
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
who has
Thanks, Dinesh. Thanks for the quick webinar. So, guys, if you have any question related to Docker, Kubernetes, or any problem you are facing while setting up your Jenkins CI/CD or anything, so Dinesh is there. Few other engineers from our team also there. Saurabh is here, and then Shiva is also there. So these people can answer those things if you want anything.
So I want to know what are the advantages of RazorOps than the Jenkins and other pipelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the most frequent question I think we have, and we have made this as a part of our main website as well. You can go and check, but broadly, I will just repeat what has been written there.
Migrate. Yeah, this one.
So one of the things is RazorOps is built for the newer age of CICD world. Jenkins has been created almost 20 years, and though it has been evolving and it has been evolved quite from the long time. But if you talk about the new age container native things, we have built this platform from with the container native technologies. It is more resilient than Jenkins. In Jenkins, it just creates some kind of workspace environment. The the level of isolation between builds are not tight enough in Jenkins, and if you have installed some libraries in some workspace, it might break the other pipelines in your in the same instance. But here you can install any version that you want to install, and because it is isolated by a VM boundary, right? So the isolation and the resilience feature is really important. uh, and then in Jenkins, you will get the plugins, and anyone who has worked in plugins, because plugins integration, they know that they are very fragile, and upgrading plugins is very painful. Most of those plugins are maintained by independent folks or community. Sometimes they work, sometimes they doesn't, and you also doesn't get any support for those plugins. But here we support a market place kind of thing where plugins are basically developed by us and they are indicated out of the box. Coming to the next one of the differentiator is the Docker support. Our Docker support is much more better than you can achieve in the Jenkins. Jenkins doesn't have a Docker. It doesn't have out of the box feature, but you can use the Docker plugin, I guess, to make it work. But even if you have used the Docker plugin, you will have other problems also. Sometimes a Docker, the Docker daemon will fail, or you will run out of the image. The image sizes will be too high after, let's say, 1 month. Then you have to go manually clean those things up. And the Docker layer support is not there as far as I know in Jenkins, but here in the Razors you will get the Docker layer support. If you ever built a Docker container image, you will know the caching that Docker uses, so that not every line in the Docker file is executed every time. So we have inbuilt support for Docker caching. Then I think in the concurrent and parallel builds, this is same in both of these platform. We support it inbuilt. You can achieve it via different plugin in the Jenkins as well. Artifactory support is inbuilt. Artifactory test report, pipeline as a code. These are three things which has been inbuilt here. Some of the things are there in Jenkins, but others can be achieved using plugins there. Then we have support for the databases and service testing. I don't know what you will do in Jenkins. You might have to start, you might have, as a system dependency, you have to install, let's say if you have to use some database or Postgres, you have to install Postgres in your Jenkins instance and then give access to your pipeline. But here, you don't have to install in your system, but you can declaratively define as a part of your pipeline, and then it will be destroyed and created alongside your build. And dependent, you have inbuilt support for the caching. I don't think there's any support of that in Jenkins. And then other things are also there, like Android, Linux VM, API access, Git triggers, and things like that. But overall, I think if you really want to understand, this is the link that you should go to. I hope I answer your question.
Okay,
Apart
okay.
from,
Yes.
yeah, hi Dinesh, can you please answer the questions of the chat?
Apart from Jenkins, what you guys doing special when compared to GitLab CICD? Yeah, GitLab is, I think GitLab is one of the popular CI platform out there. And one differentiator I will say with the GitLab is the speed. If you run the same set of commands in the GitLab and same set of commands in RazorOps, you might see 1.5x of a difference, and some of these findings have been reported by our customer as well. Though you can host the GitLab runner yourself, but I'm not comparing the self-hosted one. I'm just comparing their hosted version with us. Some of the features are common. I think these feature the Artifactory support. I don't know whether GitLab provides, but pipeline as a code, GitLab also provide. Database testing, I think they don't provide. So some of those and these things are common between the platform. We might be lacking in some of the features that GitLab provide because we are newer platform, and GitLab has a huge customer base. They have huge team, so that thing also matters. But being a small team, I think what we are providing and the support that we provide for the customer, I think it can stand out, and overall you will have better better platform or better service with us.
Okay. Okay. What about the catching the Docker layer? I mean,
Caching the what?
are you having like a auto scaling runner if you have more than 10 builds at a time?
Yeah, those things is already there. So our as a part of platform, we have auto scaling support. So we basically don't expose this functionality to the user, but based on the which plan that you are in, you will get the auto scaling support. So your build will never go into queue for more than few minutes.
Okay. I mean, what I'm asking, when we go for auto scaling group, right? We don't have a cache layer, right?
You don't have caching. Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, when we go for auto scaling CICD pipeline means we don't have a caching layer, right? I mean, it won't store the data, right? So every time when
But
we trigger a
caching,
new pipeline, it will trigger a new build, right?
yeah. So
So it will start from building from the first instead of
no,
using the caching layer.
it depends. So let's say there's a restriction in Docker cache. If you are really asking about the Docker for cache, there's discussion that one cache should be integrated or should be attached to one instance only, right? At the same time, if you create 2 3 more instances, those instances will not be able to use the same cache. But if you are triggered a new build, a fourth build, right? If first build has been finished, the fourth build should be able to get the cache from first build. You see, so all of the concurrent builds will have a new caches. All of all of the subsequent build will have can reuse the cache which are being created by previous builds.
Okay.
I hope this answers the question.
Yeah.
But this is just for Docker caching. But other like artifact support or language caching, like dependency caching, they should be able, even on the concurrent runs, they should be able to use the same store, because it's just the download call from the central store.
Okay. Fine.
Uh,
Yeah, anyone else like to know anything? Otherwise, we can just bind up this call. Or if you have more
Hi,
more,
Dinesh.
yeah,
yeah,
please
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, this is Dr. N.V. Lakshmi Prataju. Actually, I am my basic background is I am working as an associate professor in GVP College of Engineering. At present, I am taking this DevOps course. First time I am taking this. You told Jenkins does not support Docker's plugin. Why?
No, I'm saying the Docker support should be coming from as a plugin in Jenkins. So Jenkins doesn't have inbuilt support for Docker. You have to
Uh,
use some kind of external plugin to get the support. But even if you have that particular plugin, there's few other challenges that you have to mitigate uh, to overall has a better Docker support. I don't know whether you know Docker layer caching or multiple Docker builds. Those features not there in the plugin as well.
okay, thank you.
Mhm. Cool. And I don't know whether if you install Docker plugin in Jenkins, uh, it might basically install the Docker plugin in your instance, right? So let's say if any other pipeline wants to use a different version of Docker, it won't be able to use. Or a central Docker daemon can run out of this space very easily, because if you are using bigger images, it can run out of this space. All those things doesn't matter in RazorOps.
Thank you.
Dinesh, this is Venkat. Regarding one general question regarding a setup of a Jenkins, and uh, I want to set up a robot framework with Jenkins
Which
in a
framework?
Linux environment.
Which framework? Robot framework.
Yes, a robot framework which is written in Python, I guess. I'm actually background of Ruby and Rails application developer, but I just want to do a setup using this robot framework with Jenkins. But my problem is like I'm running my application into CentOS as a Linux environment. Is it possible, like, can we going to set up this CICD environment within the Linux environment, which includes Jenkins as well as this robot framework along with the in a Linux environment? And
it should be possible, I guess, though I haven't used robot framework. So
yes,
does it have
one
any?
problem.
Yeah,
Exactly.
go on.
So one problem when I try to integrate, so I encountered like there are few libraries which is Jenkins libraries which are not support in the Linux Firefox browser, where some of the automation scripts are not running in some of the browser configuration. That add-ons are not supported for the Linux environment. So do we have any alternative or solutions where we can take a current whatever I'm saying, so that I did in a CentOS Linux environment.
See,
So
if let's say if your robot framework has some dependence that few libraries or add-ons will only work on Windows platform, I don't think Linux or Linux platform is
yes,
going to work, right? Even Jenkins won't help you there because Jenkins is also dependent on the platform that it is running on, which is Linux in the end. So what you really want is, I guess, install get a Windows system, install Jenkins on it. Jenkins.
no. My actual question is like if my dependencies are like a clustered, like my actual Rails application, web application is Ruby and Rails, so that we can't run in a Windows. And the other robot framework just now I talked, that is kind of a Python library framework, open source, this one. So where I can run into, I'm trying to run into Windows Linux environment, as well as to set up that completely. Whole setup needs to be run, including Jenkins robot framework along with the Ruby and Rails. Everything needs to be run in a single Linux environment. That's what I'm trying to, but I'm facing a lot of issues on the libraries aspect when it is with respect to Jenkins. So I'm not very clear
Jenkins,
on how
Jenkins
you can.
setup can be a little tricky, but ultimately just that it has to be solved by you, right? Because you chose to set up yourself. If you have problem, I don't know whether we can help with the Jenkins setup, but if you are open for try out some kind of POC with us, whether we can support it, yeah, we can.
Yes.
But the thing which you are asking is very specific to your add-ons or libraries, but
yes, environment, Linux environment is.
Yeah, without knowing the exact problem that you are facing or the library issue that you are facing, it's hard to give you the answer right now, I guess.
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I think if everyone is done with the questions, we can try to wind up this call. So
we'll send the PPT, the presentation, via some email.
Yeah, so this video we will upload to our YouTube channel. So later on, anytime you can watch this, and then or any kind of help you want during setup of the RazorOps pipeline, you can approach us. So and any kind of help if you want pipeline setup or documentation understanding or which kind of project, what like if you are open to do a POC, so we can do one small POC also to how to utilize the RazorOps for your own company. So give a try. Like we have a free plan. I think Dinesh, you can quickly showcase that one. So that free plan is like you can practice around it, see that if it is useful, and then you can go for the premium plans.
I can just describe the pricing for you. One of the free plans you will get half of the CPU and 3.5 gig of memory, 1 GB of memory, and this hertz of the CPU. So this is ideal for individuals, I guess. What we have seen is if we increase the compute power in the free plan, some folks will start mining the platform. So that's why we are little restrained on the free plan, and only provide some only bare minimum compute power to the individuals. But if you want, you can contact our support, and we can extend the we can give more power and extend your free plan to some other plans and with more benefits. But anyway, in this free plan, you will get unlimited builds, pipelines, and you can also use it has dedicated Docker CI support. The only differentiator is you can run the parallel. You can run only one parallel pipeline at the same time. So if there is some other pipeline that has been triggered, it will be in a queue, and then when it is finished, the other will take over. Similarly, in the paid plans, you will get much more features, uh, team features, then concurrency feature also increases, the compute power also increases. In if you have any enterprise needs, we will do some POC with you. For the pro plan, we'll provide all of the features with good support. But if you are keen, you can get start from the basic plan, then contact our support so that we can increase your compute power for more experimentation.
Sure, Dinesh. Thanks for explaining it. So, guys, I think we are done. So we can wind up this call. Thanks for joining, everyone. Even Saturday, and everybody has made the time and come on the time. So I'd then like to say thanks to everyone, even our team and all those guys who has made it. Thank you, everyone.
Cool. See you then. Bye.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Sure. Thanks.